Why do I paint and why do I persist in painting? I think that there's, there's almost like daily questions why people do what they do, and in a way, painting still feels to me like the most natural way to work because it doesn't involve any other people really. It's not like a filmmaker or a director or a choreographer, or I'm in control of it to a degree.
In my case, I think I started to paint, or certainly started to draw before school, before I was old enough to go to school. But I benefited from being a young kid in a school system that still had specialist art teachers, and they encouraged me. I don't think that was where the original impulse came from, but I think it gave me the push and the support when there was no support. I mean, I didn't see art until later.
I think many people are very reluctant to deal with abstract painting because they somehow have some sense that they don't know how to quite believe it, and that's unfortunate.
There's a continuity in our own work, and I was thinking about that when I was looking at some of your pictures, you know, when the work was started and then when it was concluded, and sometimes there are many years from the time it starts to end. So there's a continuity not only for your whole career, but also
within the work itself.
In the work itself.
Yeah. But I think that there's something to that in that there's a compressed piece of time within that is inherent to the work, which is a difficult thing to explain to people. But I think that there is something about the duration of something, because like if a person is writing a book, there's a certain length of time it takes to write a book. And then when you read a book, obviously you don't spend the same amount of time as the writer would spend. So,
do you think at some different point than where you eventually stopped, the painting had already arrived, but it was a different moment? But, you know, in a 5 or 7, 10-year period, are we the same people?
Yeah, you have to catch the moment. I think that, you know, the classic question is, how do you know when you're finished? You know, and that's a question every artist has always been asked. And I think that moment is a very precious moment, because at some point you're in sync with the whole thing, it seems to me. Things that we easily understand ultimately are not necessarily rewarding. The most rewarding things seem to be the things that are the most difficult to access. So, and I think in this case your work remains interesting to me because I never quite entirely understand it, but I like it. So I don't think painting is, in one sense it's extremely complicated, but in another sense it's extremely simple. You know, you just go about your business and you put on your other clothes and you start moving paint around. And what we end up with is something that we hopefully, at least for that moment, it's something you can believe in.
One of the reasons why I continue to paint is that I enjoy that continuity, both in myself, but also I like being linked to all of those people who have attempted to do this. Yeah. I mean, it connects one with what it is to be human, in a sense. And it's not the only option, you know, but it's one.
It's a good one. It kind of reinvents itself as the next person comes along who feels it strongly. So, you know, I think I'm very conscious when I'm not painting, but it's as though as soon as I start painting, I want to be somebody who knows nothing.
Right.
So that it can remain fresh.
Right.
And of course it's oversimplified, because your own history determines somewhere where the work might go, I think. So, and I suppose in a way part of me looks for a link to my own past. Mostly I'm trying to escape while I'm painting into a world that doesn't know very much.
So you think it's painting is a habit for those of us at this point in time?
It's got to be more than a habit, I think, you know. But it is kind of like having to have a coffee in the morning, you know, it's a bit like that. So it is a sort of habit, but if I don't paint a certain day, then I feel uneasy, and if I haven't painted for 3 or 4 days, then I get really self-conscious, and very many artists seem to get caught in the idea of what's happening or what's trendy or what others are doing. And as I get older, I look less at what others are doing and want to do what I want to do.